Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
Greetings, Starfighter. You have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontiers against Xur and the Kodan Armada.
Awesome. Welcome to episode 168 of Nerdery Murdery.
Big 168. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with the Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows and the good and the bad and the up and the down, the nerd and the murd. So I watched part 1 of the 3-part finale of Cobra Kai.
Okay.
Have you watched it yet?
Yes.
Okay.
I've watched up to there's
6.
Yeah, I've watched up to 6 twice.
Right, because the second part comes out in November, and I think the third part comes out sometime in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Without giving too much away, I didn't think this part was as good as the previous seasons. I kind of
You just watched the first episode?
No, I've watched all 6. I've watched all 6. And I just didn't think it was quite up to the caliber of the other seasons to this point. I kind of feel like we're really kind of rehashing and reusing a lot of plot devices. That's kind of kept going, and I kind of would have expected a little something new and different.
Like maybe they should have ended it at the end of the last season.
I don't know. Well, no, I mean you can't because they have the big tournament, the Takai
Setai
whatever it is,
Katai.
Takai, yeah,
Yeah,
whatever it is.
Setai.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I just I enjoyed it enough, but not as much as I've enjoyed the other seasons. I mean, I'm going to keep watching, of course. I'm going to watch to the end, and I want to keep going. But I just felt like too much of it was a rehash. Um, I don't want to give away what they're talking about in it. Anybody that hasn't watched it, I don't like what they're doing with the Mr. Miyagi storyline yet. Maybe that'll play itself out, and we'll see.
Maybe
But
that's why he went to in the next Karate Kid. That maybe that's why he went to go be with the monks
I
because he
maybe
felt like he had to
maybe
make up for something.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I just like I said, it's still enjoyable enough, but I just didn't think it on par of the previous seasons. That's just kind of where I am on it right now. Um, so yeah, I finished that really quick, and then now I'm back to catching up on the Blacklist that I never watched all of. So
Mm.
that's a great show. God, I love James Spader. Oh, he's so awesome. I'm in the second season of that, and I think there's 10 seasons.
Yeah, man,
So,
I bailed after like the second or third season. It was just like, what? I felt like they lost the plot.
oh, I'm still enjoying it. I'm very
Oh,
much still
the
enjoying it.
first and second season are incredible.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I just didn't get much after the third. Spader's still great. I mean, it's
yeah,
just kind of it's nice to watch him work.
right. Um, yeah, he's incredible. He's an incredible actor. Because we went through Boston Legal second round through that, and just amazing as going through the first time. Him and William Shatner play off each other so well in Boston Legal. Uh, Give that one a watch. It's a great series. So anyway, um, that's all I had on that. You want to take us over on the nerdery side of the house?
Yes, I do. Today we're going to talk about The Last Starfighter.
I love this movie
Yeah, me too.
a lot. Um,
You have to rent it right now. It was readily available just like a month ago.
yeah.
And I've got probably 15 little snippets. So it's not quite the whole movie, but you can get the gist of it from what we got in the YouTube playlist right now.
Well, and Ernst Klein, who did Ready Player One, did a book called Armada, which very very much reminded me of the Last Starfighter.
Last Starfighter.
Yeah.
They couldn't make a decent video game, I'll tell you that. Eventually, they made one in Japan called
Geo Sword,
yes, the Geo Sword, Starblade.
Starblade.
Yeah,
Yes.
because the plane was called the Geo Sword
Yes.
that you were in. Yeah, but yeah, Starblade is basically that. Even the models even look the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, if you want to play the Last Starfighter, it's called Starblade. You should sit down and play. Play the sit down version. It's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Bring quarters, lots of them. Um, so Last Starfighter is a 1984 American space opera film directed by Nick Castle. The film tells the story of Alex Rogan, played by Lance Guest, a teenage recruited by an alien defense force to fight in an interstellar war. It also features Robert Preston in his last role, Dan O'Herlihy, Catherine Mary Stewart, Norman Snow, and K.E. Cutner. The Last Starfighter, along with Disney's Tron, had the distinction of being one of the cinema's earliest films to use extensive, real-time, computer-generated imagery to depict its many starships, environments, and battle scenes. As I said before, The Last Starfighter was Robert Preston's final role in a theatrical film. The character of Centauri, a lovable con man, was written with him in mind and was a nod to his most famous role as Professor Harold Hill in The Music Man. There was a subsequent novelization of the film by Alan Dean Foster, as well as video game based on the product. And in 2004, it was also adapted as an off-Broadway musical. I would like to see that.
Yeah. The video game was Star Raiders 2.
Mhm. It's okay.
Sequel to Star Wars. Yeah, it's okay, but Starblade is a better
Yeah,
adaptation of it.
yeah, yeah. Japan made it like 10 years later because
Yeah,
I think Starlight came out like 90, 91, somewhere in there.
something like that.
They just didn't they didn't have the oomph at the time to make it. Hell, they used a Cray to make the effects for The Last Starfighter. The computer graphics for the film were rendered by Digital Productions on a Cray XMP supercomputer. The company created 27 minutes of effects for the film. This was considered an enormous amount of computer-generated imagery at the time for the 300 scenes containing computer graphics in the film. Each frame of the animation contained an average of 250,000 polygons and had a resolution of 3,000 by 5,000 36-bit pixels. Digital production estimated that using computer animation required only half the time and between a third to half the cost of traditional special effects. The result was a cost of $14 million for a film that made about $29 million at the box office. DP, or Digital Productions, used Fortran CFT77 for programming. And it was said by Larry Yeager, everything was in Fortran because it was the only language with vectorization when we started and remained the only language with good vectorization through the life of DP. Larry Yeager being the lead software programmer for DP, or Digital Productions. Not all the special effects of the film were done with computer animation. The depictions of the beta unit before it had taken Alex's form was a practical effect created by makeup artist Lance Anderson. The Star Car, created by Gene Winifred and driven by Centauri, was a working vehicle based on Winifred's spinner design from Blade Runner. Because the test audience responded positively to the Beta Alex character, director Nick Castle added more scenes of Beta Alex interacting with the trailer park community. But because Lance Guest had cut his hair short after initial filming had been completed, he contracted an illness during the reshoots. His portrayal of Beta Alex in the added scenes was him wearing a wig with heavy makeup. Will Wheaton also had a few lines of dialogue that were ultimately cut from the film, but he still is visible in the background of several scenes.
I need to
So
find that and see Will Wheaton in it.
he's Lewis's friend.
Okay.
He actually had a bigger role in the film.
Hmm.
But when they added the Beta Alex scenes, they had to cut something, so they cut him. Honestly, though, the thing about the Beta Alex, because so the story goes, there's this video game at this trailer park where this kid is working. He, well, not working, living. His mom runs the trailer park.
Right.
And she also works at the diner that's at the bottom of the hill of the trailer park. And they run the little store. Alex wants to go to school far, far away and get away from this tiny little town that he's in. And go and do, something great. He doesn't know what. But they get this video game that's outside the little grocery store / convenience store, and he plays it every day, and he even ends up scoring the high score, and everybody's amazed because this game is really hard. And it's called the Last Star, or it's called Starfighter.
Hmm.
So Alex gets visited by this guy Centauri, and he shakes hands with his compatriot Mr. Beta, and when he does, that Beta takes over Alex's life. He becomes Alex while Alex is away, because Centauri turns out to be an alien and flies him to this base where he's training to be a starfighter. Alex decides to come back, but in the meantime, the Beta they keep trying to kill the Beta. There's aliens that are trying to stop him and expose the fact that they've recruited starfighters from Earth, which they weren't supposed to do because we are not advanced enough yet. But this video game trick that Centauri sent out was basically one of the best training modules they had because it responded like the Gunstar, which is the ship that they use.
Right. And they were using it to find recruits.
Yes. Although it wasn't supposed to be put on Earth because we don't have faster than light travel. So Centauri actually got in trouble for it. And this is the Robert Preston character. He's great.
Hmm.
Alex decides to go back, and then the Beta's like, no, you have to go and help. They're trying to kill me now. So Alex goes back into the base, and he finds out it's been destroyed. And he gets with a navigator, and the navigator has this one Gunstar that he's been working on, because he's working on a special weapons technique called a Death Blossom. And it's where the thing just spins on a 360 axis and fires in all sorts of different directions. But it costs a lot of power. So he's had this Gunstar basically with this prototype weapon in it. Well, the training module that Alex had the Death Blossom in it, even though it wasn't widely used. Again, it's an experimental design. So he and the navigator hop out, and they're the last ones, hence the name, the Last Starfighter. They go back and take on Xur and the Kodan Armada, who are trying to destroy the shield, which protects our part of the galaxy from the Kodan. The Beta Alex gets killed. All the scenes with the Beta Alex, with him with the longer hair and the crappy makeup, lend to the fact that this thing is an android.
Right.
It actually works better. It's a total accident that happened, but it works a lot better because he looks like Alex, but not 100%, because he's not. And I love all the Beta Alex scenes. It's mostly night shoots in canyon country. It was one of the, again, earliest films to make extensive use of computer graphics for special effects in place of physical models. 3D rendering models were used to depict spaceships and many other objects. The Gunstar and other spaceships were the design of artist Ron Cobb, who also worked on Dark Star, Alien, Star Wars, and Conan the Barbarian. Great little model maker. The only problem was they never produced any of the Gunstar toys.
I know, which was weird.
They talked about it. I think they're actually producing them now. Like you can get some of the action figures now, through what, Reanimation they're called. Yeah, Reanimation is producing some, so you can get them. Not a Gunstar yet. I did find someone who made a Gunstar out of an alternator off of a car, because the back end kind of looks like an alternator.
Yeah.
I've got it in several TikToks. I just keep a picture, and it's all metal. The thing looks heavy as hell.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that would be a cost prohibitive one, because again, it looks like he used the casing of an alternator off of a car to do it. But it's beautiful. Just lovely. But yeah, this movie flopped. They were going to make it into a trilogy. They wanted to compete with Star Wars. But the year that it came out, the summer that it came out, we had Indiana Jones and the Temple. It's 1984. Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom. There was a Star Trek movie. I can't remember if it was Wrath of Khan.
That would be 84, I think, is Wrath of Khan. I'll look it up.
Yeah. Several other blockbuster movies. It was a great year for science fiction and fantasy and other stuff.
Search for Spock. You were right.
The 1978 to 1986 was a great time to be a young nerd.
Yeah.
Or an older nerd. I mean, we bonded with older dudes because of our love for this stuff when we were older. Again, everything was popping. Milton Bradley was doing the Master series. We had all these great movies. Not a lot of good TV, but a lot of great movies. It was awesome. And this is one of those films, kind of one that went under the radar, like we talked about before with Daryl and Dreamscape. Is one of those ones that, again, from the same period of time, went under the radar, but it was a great science fiction / adventure film. I can think of some others that, people just don't really recall instantly. Flight of the Navigator, A Cloak and Dagger.
Cloak and Dagger was great.
Yeah.
It was so good. I so wish they had produced that actual board game from the movie. I loved Cloak and Dagger so much.
Cloak and Dagger was great.
So much.
Cloak and Dagger was just awesome. Flight of the Navigator was awesome. This movie was awesome. It's just, there was a whole slew of these that were made by not just the small independent companies who are making these little indie sci-fi movies, which I love, but I get why a lot of people have problems with them because, maybe the effects aren't great or the costuming is not, the best. This was a major studio that made this.
Hmm.
Tron is another brilliant example of a movie they threw a lot of money at and just didn't do as well as they wanted.
Right.
The Black Hole. This is in that conversation. This is one of those films. Um, the digital effects were revolutionary at the time. They were making them on a Cray supercomputer, which back then that's what we used to run government agencies.
Right.
um, now, granted, it's not as powerful as the stuff we have today, but if you take into account Moore's law, that was way overpowered for anything. I mean,
Oh yeah, the Cray was the big bad boy on the block.
For years.
I remember that somebody had told me at one point, that most major government entities had a single Cray computer because they were so expensive, and Texas A&M had two.
Yeah, Texas A&M had two. They for a long time, Texas A&M ran all of their stuff for their admissions and all the stuff for UT's admissions. That pissed off a lot of UT people because there's a big rivalry between those two.
Yeah,
it's been going on for a long time. I don't get it, but yeah, they Texas A&M actually ran the admissions for UT because they had two Crays.
Yeah.
And I mean, UT didn't. But yeah, that was definitely overkill. But they were amazing. If you look at them today, they look kind of video gamey. But that's okay. It was made in 1984. It doesn't mean it's not beautiful designs.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that it's slow or outpaced. The special effects of the alien assassins, like there was one that had these hammerhead eyes. Oh my God, that thing was horrifying.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful and brilliant. And you get to see how these early computer generated effects work. It's a time capsule. It has been in development hell for a sequel / reboot / reboot.
Yeah.
How they portmanteau those together. Supposedly it was in production like last year, the year before last. There hasn't been any update on it, so nobody knows. Seth Rogen has been involved with it a little bit, as well as some other people, just trying to get it popped off. But I mean, we will see if it happens. I'd like to see them remake it, maybe with some slightly better techniques for the spaceships. Practical effects were fine. They were beautiful. All of them were great. The car was awesome. It'd be interesting to see who they got for the Robert Preston character because he starts talking and is like, "Oh, this guy's a snake oil salesman." He gets two words out and you realize it's like, "Oh, this guy's up to some shenanigans," and he was. This is my associate Beta. Shake hands, Mr. Beta. That was awesome. But yeah, that's basically it for The Last Starfighter. I figured I'd throw the plot at you from the mind of, at the time, a 10-year-old when I saw it in the theaters. But it was amazing. Just lovely and beautiful. And
yeah, it looks like the last major update was in 2021, when they indicated there's a decent chance it will never happen. Yeah. That I'd like to see. I'd like to see a sequel of it. I'd either like to see a sequel or a reboot of it done with modern CGI and see how they could do, because I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. Oh wait, hold on. Here's Giant Freaking Robot. Let's see what Giant Freaking Robot says. Because this article was published 3 months ago.
Oh, nice.
It's getting a 4K upgrade.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, it's getting a 4K upgrade of the original.
Yeah.
Oh, so not a reboot. They're just
cleaning up
upgrading
the
it. Yeah.
original. Yeah, like a from a 35 millimeter print transfer.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's good. At least we keep it circulating because that 35 millimeter film doesn't always last forever, even though it's better on celluloid than it is on nitrate. 'Cause
Yeah.
nitrate dissolves. It catches on fire.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good that they're cleaning it up. That way we've got digital copies of it somewhere because
Yeah.
that one fire we had in one of the studios destroyed a lot of stuff that it's lucky that it happened when it did when we were still really into physical media
Hmm.
because a lot of the stuff has been recovered,
Yeah.
or at least what we could get. So, but yeah, that's basically about it for the Last Starfighter. Other than get out there and check it out, it's a lot of fun. Again, you may have to rent it right now, but in a month or two, it'll be back on the sites because
Yeah.
it comes in and drops off a lot. It's probably because they're releasing the 4K. That's why you have to rent it right now.
Mhm.
In a month or so, you'll be able to go and see it. Plus, I've given quite a few scenes in it. I mean, like I said, you can't see the whole movie in it, but there is a link where if you do want to rent it from YouTube, you can. You can just click on it and rent it. But if you don't rent it, it will play the trailer for it.
Yeah.
So it just plays the trailer automatically.
You can, however, get the video game Starblade from start to finish on YouTube and watch somebody go through the whole game.
Yes, it basically that's how you take out the Kodan Armada, baby.
Awesome, appreciate that.
Sure thing.
All right, with that, I'll step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off Medium, the Greenville News, NBC News 4, WYFF, and Fox News Carolina, and this is the story of the disappearance of Alexis Ware.
Alexis Ware.
So, Alexis Ware had big dreams for her future. It was 2022, and she was ready to make things happen. She had 2 young children to provide for, and she wanted the best for them. Alexis was making a name for herself on social media, especially Instagram. She wanted to build a social media business, and so far it was going well. She was a young, beautiful woman, but she was attracting some unwanted attention online. Some men continued to reach out to her, the men she referred to as, quote, the creeps. She was also planning to make a move to Atlanta soon because she wanted to open up a boutique and hair salon there. Like I said, she had dreams, she had plans. She had always been a go-getter, but something very odd happened in January of 2022.
Oh, this is recent.
Yeah. On Friday, January 28th, Alexis took her 2 children and went and stayed in her mom's for the weekend. She did receive some strange phone calls. Her mom would later recall, and wasn't acting like herself. On Sunday, January 30th, Alexis and her kids drove the 30 minutes back to their apartment in Greenville. And around 3:30 p.m., Alexis and her kid, around 3:30 p.m., Alexis's mother, Alberta, had a video call with her daughter. She wanted to make sure that she made it home all right, which is something they did often, which was check on each other on the long drive or after the long drive. Alexis had just laid down in bed and told her mom she was going to take a nap and she'd call back later. Alexis seemed fine otherwise and just maybe a little tired. The next day, however, Alberta received a strange call from TJ, who was Alexis's ex and the father of her child. Excuse me. Was father of one of her children. He said that Alexis was missing. Her mother and brother went out to the area to search for Alexis, but they found no trace of her. So what happened to her? She grew up in South Carolina in a very loving and close family. She was always fun and vibrant. And as she grew into a young woman, it became clear that Alexis was drawn to fashion, hair, and makeup, and she wanted to make that her career. She met TJ Patterson while living in Greenville, South Carolina. They would have a child together, but the relationship wouldn't last. Her main goal was to take care of her children, and she wanted to give them the world. She had dreams of opening up her own salon and boutique, and again, she was planning on moving to Atlanta, where she hoped to make her dreams come true. Her mother later told Dateline in an interview that Alexis had even started obtaining items for her boutique, such as clothing racks, displays, and even merchandise. And then she was also working to build her social media following. She worked her Instagram very hard and was successful with it. However, with all the good comes some bad. Alexis, again, was a very beautiful young woman, and she started attracting the attention of men on Instagram. This was unwanted attention. Men were harassing her and sending her photographs, and Alexis was constantly blocking these accounts. And again, she referred to these men as the creeps. Usually, these internet trolls never materialize in real life, but sometimes they do. And we don't know if Alexis had any real life connections with these men that were harassing her online. While she did have the goals of her business, her first and most important role in life was as a mother. She adored her children, was an attentive mom. Everyone who knew her and the kids said she was a great mom. She wanted to provide a better future for her children, which was the main motivation starting her businesses. And with her driven nature, her friends and family knew she would be successful. So in January of 2022, she was living in an apartment with her children in Greenville. As I talked about before, on January 28th, she took the kids and made the 90-minute drive to her mother's house. They'd planned to stay the weekend and visit. Arrived on Friday, went to bed right away as they were all tired. On the Saturday, Alberta said that Alexis seemed a bit distracted and not her usual upbeat self. And she asked her daughter what was wrong, and she did say that she was dealing with some crazy people online, but everything would be fine. At some point, she got a phone call, which made her increasingly upset. And when Alberta asked her what it was about, she just shrugged it off. And Alberta asked her who it was, and Alexis' response was, the devil. Throughout the day, Alexis and her mom had various conversations. And at one point, Alexis mentioned she thought a black pickup truck had been following her and she was afraid. Another time, she told her mom that she didn't think she was going to live to see her 30th birthday, which shocked her mom, and asked why she just said that. And Alexis said it was just a feeling she had. But while those conversations did happen throughout the weekend, most of the weekend was a normal visit. Early Sunday afternoon, Alexis and the kids left her mom's house for Greenville. They all said their goodbyes, and Alberta told her daughter to call as soon as she made it home safely. Later that afternoon, around 3:30, Alberta was worried because Alexis hadn't called her yet, so she called her daughter on video chat, and Alexis answered the phone in bed, told her mom she was tired, was going to take a nap and call her back later. They hung up, and with Alberta not knowing that this would be the last conversation she would ever have with her daughter. That evening, Alexis called TJ, and they planned to meet up and trade off the kids. Alexis told TJ she didn't have any gas money, and TJ offered to get her gas at the gas station in Anderson, South Carolina. Alexis and TJ met around 7 o'clock p.m. The kids got into TJ's car, and for some reason, Alexis was going to follow them to TJ's mother's house. So they pulled out of the gas station and onto the road. And at the red light, TJ said he saw Alexis on the phone, and without warning, she sped around him and took off in another direction. TJ tried calling Alexis to see what was going on, but she didn't answer. Later that evening, still unable to get a hold of her, TJ called her mother. Alexis had mentioned going back there, so we thought that's maybe where she went. And Alberta said she hadn't heard from her daughter. However, she began to panic. She didn't know that Alexis was even planning on meeting TJ that evening and thought it was strange that Alexis didn't mention it to her earlier. They all tried calling Alexis' cell phone but never received an answer. Alexis had just disappeared. The investigation into Alexis' disappearance would turn up some interesting clues or possible clues. First, a discussion with TJ turned up additional evidence or information. His account of what happened at the gas station that evening was corroborated, and they got video surveillance from the parking lot. On another Dateline interview, a detective did confirm that at some point the video was partially obscured by a tractor-trailer truck that had pulled into the lot, but for the most part, they could see Alexis and TJ talking. The kids get into TJ's car, and then they drove off, and nothing seemed to be amiss. Alexis' car then headed north on Highway 29 and vanished from the video until later that evening. Detectives haven't released any more details, but have confirmed that her car was seen in an Anderson, South Carolina apartment complex later that night. The following day, authorities learned that Alexis had an appointment at the Georgia Lottery Commission office in Augusta, Georgia. Alexis did not show up for this appointment, but this unleashed another mystery. Law enforcement officers learned that the weekend before, the weekend she spent with her mom, she had spent hundreds of dollars on lottery tickets, purchasing many from different stores, and then she'd made that appointment with the Lottery Commission. The The obsessive lottery ticket purchasing was out of character for Alexis.
Mhm.
Some people even stated that she had to borrow money to purchase some. It seems like maybe she had the hopes of winning something, so she made the appointment at the Georgia Lottery Commission office, but it turned out none of the tickets were winning tickets. So weird. Authorities continued to look for Alexis by putting her car into the system in case it was found or picked up by a license plate reader on the highways. They talked to friends, family, and acquaintances, and then got a break on February 2nd, which was 3 days after Alexis was last seen. Her car was found in McCormick County in South Carolina off the road in a wooded area. The man who reported it said it had been there a couple of days, but he thought it might have belonged to one of the loggers in the area, as there was a lot of logging being done at the time. When
Yeah,
investigators
you got to drive
arrived,
to work, and if your work's in the
right,
forest, that's where you drive to.
exactly. When investigators arrived on the scene, it was pretty clear that the car had been put there, as it was not a place the car should have been. After they ran the plates, local McCormick authorities learned it belonged to Alexis Ware, who was reported as a missing person from Greenville. Greenville law enforcement was contacted, and they converged on the scene to investigate. They combed through the car for clues and found many of Alexis's personal belongings, items that concerned them that wouldn't normally be left behind, like her purse, cell phone, a bag of clothing, and those mysterious lottery tickets.
Mhm.
They found no signs of struggle. There was no DNA and no fingerprints. I would assume except for hers, but it didn't say
Yeah.
that. They did a grid search, which was conducted over 200 acres in the surrounding area where her car was found, and detectives were looking for any clues at all, any sign of Alexis or any of her belongings, or just something that was out of place, something that might give them a clue as to why Alexis's car was there and where she was. Authorities went to Alexis's family to find out what may have brought her to McCormick County. Her family said that, to their knowledge, she had no connection to McCormick County, so her car being there was a complete mystery. Further investigation led detectives to a Ring doorbell camera from Alexis's neighbor. First, she went to the neighbor's house. This wasn't somebody who was a friend, just an acquaintance.
Mhm.
And Alexis is seen seeming to just ramble on about a bunch of different things. And while the neighbor is looking and acting sympathetic, she also seemed a bit confused. Detectives did receive back some information on Alexis' cell phone records and learned that her phone last pinged at 8:15 p.m. near Abbeville, South Carolina. And this adds up with her leaving the 7-Eleven just after 7:30, because Abbeville is about a 40-minute drive south. Law enforcement also tracked down some highway traffic cams that picked up Alexis's car that night. The car was seen going into Augusta, Georgia, and then shortly after was seen driving north back out of Augusta, Georgia. By March, a little more than a month after Alexis disappeared, the FBI was brought in to assist in the investigation. So Alexis vanished from Anderson, South Carolina. At least she was last seen in Anderson, South Carolina, as far as we know. That's located near the border of Georgia and is in the southwest corner of South Carolina. It's a population of about 28,000 residents. She traveled from Greenville south about 30 minutes to get to Anderson, where she met TJ. Her family speculated that maybe she was still feeling like someone was following her and that she was in danger and wanted to get the kids somewhere safe. And that's because there was no original plan to meet TJ that night, leading to wonder why that meeting took place.
Yeah. But they cleared TJ, right?
Yes, they did clear TJ.
Okay. He just picked up his kids.
Yep. She spent a short time in Anderson, then traveled south to Abbeville, or at least her phone did. Traffic cams later caught her driving into Augusta and then back out of Augusta, presumably back to South Carolina. There are some sparsely populated areas along this route, not many large water sources until you get closer to Georgia, where you have the Savannah River running along the state lines. We also know, although authorities will remain very tight-lipped about this, that her car was last seen at an apartment complex in Anderson, South Carolina that night. And it's also important to note that the only time Alexis was physically seen on any camera was at the 7-Eleven.
Okay.
It may have been her in Abbeville when her phone pinged, and it may have been her driving in and out of Augusta, but the cameras were unable to pick up who was in the car. Her car was picked up in McCormick County, which sits in between Augusta and Abbeville. Alexis's mother, Alberta, and other family members began working with activist Bruce Wilson on proposing new legislation regarding how missing person cases are handled in South Carolina. Uh, the Alexis Ware Act to enhance missing person investigations would allow the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, or SLED, to take over an investigation of a missing person case after 12 months of no reasonable progress into the matter if the missing person's immediate family member makes a request to SLED.
Yeah.
Alberta, along with other family members, Bruce Wilson, and other missing person advocates, held a press conference on June 6, 2024, to help answer questions about this proposed law. The mother of Casey Pogue, who was another young woman who went missing, was also in attendance to push for this law. As of June 2024, there are 279 open and unsolved missing persons cases.
Wow.
Alexis's mother told WYFF News 4 shortly after she was reported missing that she had received numerous messages from a person alleging to know where Alexis is. However, there's no updated information on that. As we had talked about, TJ Patterson was initially a person of interest, but that was dropped in 2023. To date, the Anderson County Sheriff's Office said multiple agencies, including SLED, have combed through miles of terrain by air support, canine, and cadaver units and search and rescue teams. They've done countless hours of interrogating, interviewing, and investigating, continuing to uncover invaluable information, even up till recently. An official said, quote, "We unfortunately receive hundreds of false tips that detectives must take time to eliminate. These pranks not only waste resources, but give the family a helpless feeling. We appreciate any concrete factual information from the community and ask for compassion towards Alexis's family." Lead Detective Jason Fowler said he remains positive and stressed the importance of him working every day to find Ware so he can safely bring her home to her children. Alexis is described as a black female, standing 5'6" and weighing about 200 pounds when she was last seen in January 2022. Today, she would be 31 years old. She has black hair and brown eyes. She was wearing a black jacket, a purple shirt, blue jeans, black clogs, and a black hair bonnet when she was last seen on the camera at the 7-Eleven in Anderson. She has numerous tattoos, including a rose on one hand, a leaf-like feather on her other hand, footprints in the date 11/30/19 on her arm, flowers on her hip and thigh, paw prints on her other thigh, a cheetah print pattern on her shoulder, a cross between her breasts, and additional tattoos on both sides of her chest, her back, her abdomen, both forearms, the inside of her wrist, and on her calf. So it's not like you're not going to be able to see this person.
Yeah.
She does wear dentures and often goes by the nickname Lex. Anyone with information on the whereabouts of Alexis Ware is asked to contact the Anderson County Sheriff's Office at 864-260-4400 or 888-CRIME-SC. There is a $5,000 reward through Crime Stoppers for information that leads to Alexis being found. So what do you think happened to Alexis Ware?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't think it was TJ. I don't think he just had his kids.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was TJ at all.
I think she was going a little nuts with the lottery tickets and stuff, or somebody had called her and threatened like her kids or something, so that's why she had to go buy lottery tickets. She went and met up with that person, and that person did her in. That's what I think happened.
Maybe. Could it be one of the creeps that that was reaching out to her on social media and were able to triangulate her? Because I didn't look up her social media account, so I don't know if she put where she lived and everything like that. But I kind of think it may have something to do with that. I think somebody was able to find her and wasn't getting the attention they wanted by reaching out to her, and they made her disappear, whether or not she's still alive, because we don't know, because there's been no body found, and she did have the very distinctive tattoo markings. I think
she should be easily identifiable.
She should be, but nobody's ever been found. So I don't know. It's a weird one. It's a really, really weird one. There were some weird things that were associated with it, but it's just another one of those weird disappearances that we've covered. It's weird how somebody can just literally vanish off the face of the earth.
Yeah, especially now. It's not like any time before the 90s. When
Yeah.
yes, if you wanted to disappear, you could.
Yeah.
It was much easier back then.
Yeah.
But
This was 2022 and cameras
this
are
was this is
everywhere.
nearly impossible to do.
Yeah.
If you wanted to disappear in 1985, you could get it's gonna be you had to do some legwork, but you could do it.
Yeah.
But it did take planning and money. Whereas now, you can't really do that anymore. So no, I think somebody did something to her. And unfortunately, because it's in a logging area, it may be years before we find her remains, assuming she's, not still alive.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Very true. So, but that's my story for this week.
Well, thank you for that, sir.
Appreciate you hanging on with that.
Really?
That will take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find more information about us on nerderymurdery.com. That's our website, our hub for everything we talk about. Inside, you'll find links to what we talked about in this episode, as well as pictures, and you also find the link to our YouTube page, which Zig so often updates.
Yes, and on that YouTube page, you could find several scenes and documentaries and thoughts and ideas about the Last Starfighter.
Awesome. Appreciate all the work you do on that.
Thank you, sir.
You can also find the link to our merchandise page, where if you wish to show off your nerdery murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from our merch shop. That, along with our patrons, you can find the link to our Patreon account, where our patrons and people who buy merchandise do help with the costs that are associated with the show. It costs to keep us on the air, keep the uploads going, and our website to keep bringing you the information we talk about.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It is free, and it helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the topics we discuss. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.